Hi, I'm Dana, and it's time for this week's question. And it comes from Tammy, and she writes, my in-laws are coming to visit for a week and are under the impression that babies will sleep through anything and that they just need to get used to it. What are your thoughts on this issue? Well, I get this question a lot, and I think on some level we can get used to certain environmental noises when we sleep. If you live in a noisy neighborhood, you're going to get used to a sort of bit of baseline noise. However, we're not in a coma when we're asleep, neither are babies, so whatever can potentially wake you up is probably going to be the same thing that will wake your baby up. So I always tell parents that to be respectful that someone is sleeping. What kinds of things would you do if your spouse were taking a nap? You're not going to vacuum right beside him. You're just going to be mindful that there's someone in the house that's sleeping, and you need to be respectful of that. If you're too quiet, if you're tiptoeing around the house during naps, then any kind of little disturbance in the dead quiet is probably going to wake up your baby, the telephone ringing or a dog barking. So you don't want to be too quiet, but you do want to, just keep in mind that the baby's sleeping. And, it's difficult sometimes to convince in-laws or friends or family members that that the things you're doing for your baby is what's in the best interest of your baby. I've had a lot of people write in and say they get tons of flack from their friends because Susie has to be home for nap time, and you can't go out past 7 because you've got to get your baby to bed. And I understand where those people are coming from. They probably want you to stay out and have a good time. But once they see that your child is well rested and happy, and when they are awake, they're in a good mood, most family members come around. I remember the first time my in-laws babysat for a weekend while we went away, when we got home, they said, well, he's an excellent baby as long as we followed the schedule and stuck to his routines. So that sort of showed the both of us that they might have tried to mess around a little bit with his schedule and realized that, it's actually not a good idea to do that, and saw the rewards of it in the long run, that when he was awake, he was happy and engaged and playful, and when he was ready to sleep, he went to sleep. And so they have always, jumped right in and on board with our children's schedules, and anytime they babysit, they're very supportive of their routines. And I've heard them bragging to their other grandparent friends about how well their grandchildren sleep and go to bed and what good children they are. And I think eventually in the long run your friends and family will see that you've made a good decision for your child. So another thing I hear a lot is the issue of light sleepers. A lot of new clients or new parents to the program say, oh, my child's such a light sleeper, the tiniest noise and they wake up. And when you are what I consider tricked into sleep, for example, if you rock a baby to sleep and then try to, carefully transfer him to his crib, what will happen then is if there is a bit of environmental noise, they'll probably wake up with a start and realize they're not in your arms anymore, and they usually wake up crying right off the bat. Because they're no longer where they were when they fell asleep. And that, for anyone, that would be fairly alarming. So those types of situations sort of create this hair trigger, the tiniest noise, and your baby's going to fly awake and probably start crying. Once a child learns their own skills for getting to sleep, they'll become fairly deep and successful sleepers. If for example, an ambulance goes by in the night, I might wake up and hear it and acknowledge that, oh yes, it's an ambulance, and go back to sleep. I don't need anyone to come help me or do anything for me. It woke me up, but I have the skills to get myself back to sleep. And so when your baby learns these skills, again, if your loud friend laughing or telling a story wakes your baby, they'll acknowledge that they heard a noise and they'll go back to sleep. So that will fade, and you'll probably find that your once super light sleeper becomes a fairly deep sleeper within reason and capable of getting themselves back to sleep should they be woken by something. So, yes, I agree with you, Tammy. You do need to tell your in-laws to be mindful that someone's sleeping and respectful and keep the noise level to a minimum. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, and sleep well.